Hi everyone. So this video will be a bit shorter because it serves two small purposes. The first one is I've made a few modifications to the idler body, and we'll talk about those. And also it's a little update about where I'm at on this project. So first I will talk about the programming side of things, and then we'll go over the modifications I've made to the idler body and why I've made them. So as you may know, what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to add support for one additional axis so that I can properly control the idler and have it at a specific position in space and all that inside Marlin. So I was initially planning, and I'm still planning on using the modification from Der andere Eins, that gives experimental support for up to 6 non-extruder axes. So which means that you have X, Y, Z and 3 additional axes that he named YGH, I believe. YGK, yeah. And this would be relatively easy to put in place if I was not working with the latest version of Marlin, because this is not compatible with the latest version of Marlin, because in the latest version of Marlin, some files have been moved. There's a lot more use of macros. Most of those files, not right here, but a lot of modifications that are here were moved to the types full file. Some files have been moved. I don't need all of those, so it's a mess. I need to figure out a lot of things by myself, and that you can see that this is already a huge project, and I need to work even more on that. And everything is like has connection between it, and when something breaks on one side, the entire thing just doesn't work, and it's really hard to debug. But I'm making progress on that, but it's long and it's going to take quite a bit of time. So that's why you haven't seen a lot of videos lately, even if there are other reasons. So now about the physical modifications I've made. So this is the idler body. This is the part that holds the idler and the idler motor. And this part is put in tension with the main body, with some springs that are inside there and that are connected with screws. And those springs, I was initially planning on replacing them with heated bed springs. And for those who may know what those are, that you will, if you're watching this, you probably know what this is. On your 3D printer, your bed is most likely spring loaded, and those springs are actually quite big and quite resistant. So this made them actually, I just realized now, not useful for this application. So they're not compatible with this application, because the strength of those springs is so strong that compared to the motors, the motor cannot move the idler when those springs are putting that much tension on the entire assembly. So that's why I have to do a few modifications. So I could have gone two ways. Try to find a cheap spring somewhere on eBay or something similar to the idler spring, or buy the original idler spring, and that's what I did. I bought two for relatively cheap, but for springs it's actually quite expensive to pay $10 for two small springs. I got the original one so I could try to find either something relatively close, and also to be sure that that wouldn't be a problem, because I didn't want to spend time debugging something when the actual answer was simply my spring. So I decided to go with the original ones to be sure that this won't cause any issue, and I will work on reducing price on the spring side of things when I have something that is properly working. Now I've done a few other modifications, the main ones being for clearance. I had actually forgot to save that file after I'd done this modification, so I needed to redo it, and I've just redone it. And it's simply to slice off the bearing holder so that it doesn't interfere with the motor shaft on the main body. I've also lowered the entire idler and idler axis. So all those grooves are the bearings, the bearing holders, the motor holders, the motor screws, they were all brought 1.5 millimeters down. And I've also thickened the main piece by 1.5 millimeters so that the bearing grooves wouldn't go through the actual part. And why did I do that? It's because we had also some clearance issues and interference problems between the bearings and the filament and the main body. So actually the idler was too close to the main body, which meant that in order to, let's say, load or select filament, the motor would need to have way too much torque in order to actually lift the entire thing up, and so it was just not the proper distance. And why is that? It's for a few reasons. The first one is we're not using the same extruder teeth and extruder gears. They're slightly larger, the one that I've decided to use because I've chosen the cheaper ones. They're slightly larger, and they also don't have the groove. So that's why I lowered those, but they also come into account. And it's also because we're not using the same bearings, and because those bearings are way larger, they also take more space, so it changes the clearances, and that's why I need to lower the idler itself. So that's it for the physical modification, and that's it basically for this video. If you liked, make sure to leave a like and to subscribe if you want to see more. I hope you like this video, and I will see you guys later.